come here today to just help us to make good, sound decisions for the community, that we may have a good, solid debate amongst each other to make the best decisions possible. Please bless this community with all your heart. All these things we say in your name. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody to our court meeting this morning. For the record, all the commissioners are present. Do we have any system comments?
No, sir.
No comments. Okay, let's go ahead and move over to the consent agenda. I know y'all had a chance to get your package. Those who've had a chance to look over the consent agenda. I want to draw your attention to item number G, and that is a new hire for our county district attorney, assistant attorney Kathleen Hall. Is coming on to replace Kara Aban. We'll be swearing her in today at noon, and you're all welcome to come by if you'd like to be for that swearing in. But past that, any discussion on the consent agenda?
I move we pass the consent agenda.
We do have a motion in a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion will pass, and we'll move over to our regular agenda today. The first item is the most important item of the day, of course, and that's possible action on enacting county burn ban. What's y'all's pleasure? Do you want to leave it off?
I think you leave it off. You need to put it on, you do it.
We'll go ahead and pass that unless there's any other discussion on that. We'll just go ahead and pass it. I'd like to go ahead and move some folks up. We've got some folks here today making presentations. The first that I'd like to bring is item number 9, and that's going to be discuss possible action on Jeff Golbus, partner. We can call Parkhurst and Fortin to come forward. If you don't mind, Jeff is a natural bond attorney, and I know this is something that we're all, yeah, sit right up here with us. If you don't mind, come on up here and make yourself home. But I know we all have some questions about what we're looking at, and we're hoping that you can kind of tell us a little something about what you do. And then my recommendation is that we're going to use your firm. That's part of what I've researched and part of what the city manager from Mahia, Aaron Garrity, and then have used your firm and have given a recommendation. But anyway, if you don't mind right now, give us a little a few minutes here to tell us what you actually do in doing this.
Sir, good morning, Judge Jeff Golbus with McCall Partners. I'm a partner attorney there. Our firm hit 100 years old last year. We're the first firm in the Southwest to specialize and really create Southwestern public finance legal realm. Public finance, obviously, and it's what we do exclusively. Is our clients are local governments, including state governments and certain state agencies. But my practice consists of cities, counties, school districts primarily, as well as a few hospital districts and junior college districts. But we work with local governments for whatever the capital needs are. If they have a project and they're looking to borrow money or anything related to that, doesn't necessarily need to be a borrower, but that is what we do. That is all we do. We are extremely experienced and usually become very highly recommended by other folks in our industry. I understand from speaking to the judge, you'll have a prior transaction you may need some expertise on. But our goal on anything is we work with the counties, with the cities. That is our client. That is our client relationship. And our goal is your goal, and that's who we take our orders from. But really to get a legal and valid outcome to it. Sometimes we're asked to get a tax exempt opinion. Municipal bonds, including the counties, that bondholders get to deduct income off the interest. We get that legal opinion, work with the Internal Revenue Service. That is the quick and short of what we do. I've seen, you don't find a lot of transactions like what the county is currently dealing with, and they're just not terribly common. As I told Judge, typically we're fixing out of that. I did a very similar transaction for a school district out north of Dallas last year. But with that said, that's an introduction. Our firm handled throughout the country last year. We were second in the country at the number of transactions we handled on behalf of the public finance clients. I handled 80 myself, so we stay very busy. The advantage of that is we see a lot of different things. This being all we do, whether if I may hit a roadblock, I have got partners that can certainly that they've run into it before. With that said, Judge and Commissioners, I'll entertain any questions unless you tell me how
Okay.
you'd like to visit or specifics.
Let's just go over real quick. I'm almost of the opinion, and what I'm learning is when this was done before, the attorney that did it before kind of created something that's not usual and customary. And we did it primarily off of fear of a Senate bill that we had, 270, that precluded us from going into debt. That being said, I think we're ready to look at an interest and sinking fund for this county. I'd like your opinion on that. In addition, I think the interest and sinking fund is going to help the rating of our bonds that we're going to try to sell here, hopefully. And then there was one question that came up when we had an attorney that we like to use and gave some history at our last meeting. Commissioner Forrest at the end here asked the question. We've got 3.6 million just sitting in the bank making 0.5% right now. We would love to be able to pay that right now. And we were told that we couldn't. It only could be 2 days that we can do it in the year. I'm going to ask you if you know. If you don't, we find out as quick as you can, because we'd much rather knock that 5.5 or 5.75% off of that 3.6 million as quick as we can.
Sure. So I'm going to answer that. Let me kind of back up to what you started with. 270 is an old statute, but I have a lot of counties in similar positions. Did a very successful road bond for Smith County over the last several years, and they were similar to Limestone County. They were very debt adverse, and that's perfectly fine. That's a job of the commission's court. It's not my job. But they felt the need, and we worked through that process to establish an interest in sinking fund, which isn't difficult. Now, the beauty of that, just as a quick aside, and the fight I've been fighting in this legislative session are attempts to move interest in sinking fund over to no new revenue calculations for purposes of when we all got set up to last session. We've been successful in fighting that fight thus far, but the session's not over. But so for a lot of cities and counties, that was a big concern. Because historically, you don't want INS to be picked up by Senate Bill 2 and no new revenue calculation. It's bad for everybody, and as I told legislators, that would be bond downgrades across the state of Texas. That's my quick aside. But it is the structure that the Limestone County did for the jail is definitely rare. Might be too strong a word, but it is not terribly common. There may be compelling reasons for why it was done. It may have been local politics. Typically, we will see these mainly with school districts. The reason they use these structures is they're trying to avoid when they're at their tax cap, and they're saying, we need a school really, really bad. This is the only way to do it. There was a cottage industry about this time where we were seeing a lot of counties do these lease revenue type structures. Not illegal by any means. It's not illegal. It is just, I would say if there's a really difficult way and a really easy way and it hits the county the same goals, I'm going to take the easy way every time. It's simpler for everybody. It's simpler for the county. And you don't find yourself years later, and this is always the problem, is it looks good at the time. You got to think 5, 10 years when situations change and you have different commissioners for it. And I think that's what y'all may be into. So all that being said, the goal would be certainly to find out what the best solution is for y'all. If it's simple as using that money to prepay it, I can tell you, like I told Judge, these are complicated. There's numerous agreements, lease backs, ground lease, some management and operating agreements. So the nuts and bolts are going to be in those. I haven't had the opportunity to get my hands on those documents. but I have been able to review often documents that went out to bond investors. And in that case, it does say that these bonds can be redeemed from bondholders on any principal and interest payment date. But what we have done many times is even if we can't take bonds away from a bondholder because of those bond covenants, we can take cash. And I did this with City College Station last year. They had an issue with property they sold, and we fund an account with a third-party escrow agent that holds that and uses that money to pay bondholders when they do. The advantage of that is it ties up the money in a third-party account, but legally it comes off your books. That portion of debt comes off your books, and it's no longer a debt. But that's my 30,000-foot view explanation. Really, until you get the documents, is where we're going to get a very clear line and recommendations of how the county moves. And one of those options may be, let's see if we can wipe this out and start over and completely clean it up, and that's certainly an option that we would explore if that's the county's direction. But again, without getting my hands on the stack of documents, which is probably not that thick, I just couldn't tell you definitively.
Anybody have any questions that they'd like to do it with?
It all looks good to me, except the Aggie.
The what?
The Aggie stuff.
I knew it. I wore my Care Bear stare rings. Sometimes folks, they come up and they like it, others not so much.
I would,
Anything, anybody else have anything that they want to visit with you about? I think we're ready to go. I'm going to recommend to the commission that we, and of course, I don't want to jump the gun too much, but I've done a lot of research on this. I mean, I've been spending, Eric, I called you at least 2 months ago, I know. I've been working on this for at least 2 months, trying to see who's in the market for doing this, and this company keeps coming up. And so it's going to be my recommendation that we enter into an agreement with this law firm to help us to come to an end on this financing of our jail, or refinancing it, if you will, to save Limestone County taxpayers money. Do you see any reason why we won't be saving a bunch of money on this?
Well, I'll tell you this, if there's no savings there, we just don't do it. And so let me kind of tie that in real quick. I don't have an engagement letter to present to y'all because I just wanted to come and talk to you. We are very good lawyers. We're not great businessmen, and I do a lot of free work, and I actually don't mind it.
Good.
So unless there's a transaction that's going to do, then you're not going to get an invoice until we know we've got a deal to do, for lack of a better word. And at that point, I'll come to y'all with an engagement. But really, my intent today is to be able to start looking into this and giving the judge a report of a recommendation. And if there is something that's to be done, and it is going to then require, our time and commitment to actually do a transaction, at that point, we'd have an engagement letter for you. But and I'm being honest with you, without an engagement letter, I can't send you an invoice. So this is just to meet me and let me get started, and then report back to you all as soon as possible with what we can do.
And we appreciate that. We're not going to charge you anything for coming and making our meeting today. So that's both ways.
I would much rather be on the road than sitting in my home.
Let me say this, in breaking it down to just what I consider the lowest common denominator here. We've got about 3.6 million thereabouts that we want to use to pay down on this debt. Currently, we're paying around 5.75% interest on those bonds that we issued back when it started. Today's rate is somewhere in the 1.8 to 2.2 range, in my opinion. That's what I'm saying. Do you agree with that? Or?
For a single to double A rated
Yes,
county city, yeah, we're selling lots below 2%.
that's what.
And that's on 30 years.
Yes, but we're not going to do that. So I know it's going to, but what I'm trying to make is, do you see anything other than that? That's our goal right now. So that we go from either $1.2 million for the next 6 years instead of 10 years, or we go $600,000 for the next 10 years. That'll be something. But do you see anything else other than the fees for what you're going to charge and what we're going to have to get the securities folks involved? Past that, do you see anything, that you can tell the commissioners for?
I don't. And at the outset, we don't lock any of this in. We can eye the interest rate market and we know what the transaction cost looks like. And it'll be conservative enough that we could look, maybe we're gonna price bonds 4 months from now. And we know if the savings are there or if they're not. And if you're at 5.25 or 5.5, there's gonna be substantial savings. We sold bonds last week to Wise County, they saved up to $12 million. So the savings are gonna be there. We want to get as much of that as we can. The only hiccup is because of the way this bond is sold, technically it wasn't sold by Wise County. It was actually sold by, I don't know Wise, I just mentioned, I'm sorry, Limestone County. It was sold by the Limestone County Public Facility Corporation, which was a nonprofit entity that the county created at the time to do this. So that is part of, as I say, peeling part of this onion. I'd have to go back to the beginning. And it's possible that if that corporation is no longer met, they may not be in good standing with the Secretary of State and Comptroller's offices to get them reformed. But these are all the weeds that I can come back to. That's when you said, is there anything, that may be one potential, but again, even if we have to reconstitute it and do that structure, but purely for savings, the savings will be there. If they're not there, we don't do it. We can come back in a year from now and see if maybe it makes sense.
That corporation was this board,
That would be my guess.
and it was,
Yeah.
and it has met, it has not met in 3 years.
So if it hasn't been 3 or 4 years, it's probably,
Yep.
for Secretary of State's purposes, inactive.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else have anything else?
Judge, I make a motion that we allow Jeff Goebbels of McCall, Parkhurst, and Parton to begin investigating our bond debt with, on the jail, and to come back with some recommendations, maybe an engagement letter at a future date.
I'll second that.
We do have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Thank you so much for coming to see us, and we look forward to you helping us help our county.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I look forward to it as well.
Thank you.
And I may go, county auditor, I may go look at some of your staff on this matter real quick, but I don't know.
They're fine.
What she's saying is that the little short thing you've got that we had for you, that's all she says.
That's all that I had so far, but we might be able to look into the county records, what was scanned in past years.
And that's fine, that's typical. I know the documents I'm looking for, and I can, Ashley gave it to me, I know that's not it, which is fine. There's other avenues I can go, but, it's probably in a box, the way that's the plan.
Herb Bristow has all those documents, and I'm sure
Yes.
Herb would work with you without a problem. In fact, he said he would, he was here today.
The, codes are required to be filed with the comptroller's office as well, and I can always, so, I don't wanna make you do a bunch of homework, but I'll see that.
No, and I'll look and see, and like I said, we could probably look into our, what's it called, the laser, they should do some research back in there and see if anything's scanned in.
We'll talk and we can.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, let's go ahead and move down to item number 11. And item number 11 is going to be discussing or take action on city manager's drainage projects. I'll invite the city manager here to come up and see and tell us everything that you want to know about it.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate the opportunity to approve before the court this morning. The city's involved in a drainage project where we're trying to improve some of the drainage right in the central part of town, between Mile and Main Street. This may be a little bit of a head scratcher. Why do you need an MOU with the city for a project that the county is not putting any money into? Doesn't necessarily require county approval or anything like that. Well, the state requires us to come down, say, hey, we're doing this drainage project. Here's what it is, provide you with the map, and we'll keep you advised of the progress on the project. If any commissioners are interested, I'd be happy to go over the details of the project, but we're essentially trying to improve that drainage so that Milam, Palestine, Commerce, Maine don't flood, is what we're really trying to do there, putting in some detention ponds, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for the city manager? I mean, the things that will always perk our ears are, this is no cost to the county. So it's, you don't have to try to find money, that, I know we didn't budget for this, so Past that, this is just a memorandum of understanding that we need to make it legal through the state, is that correct?
That's correct. And as an aside, Mr. Goldman is trying to help us out on this. This is, we can get a grant perhaps or a loan grant. He's actually working that field with the city and has done a fantastic job with it. So far, he's got us to this point. So far, we've made it to the third round. So we're hoping to get it, but essentially no cost to the city other than more about half the project.
Sounds good. Does anyone want to make a motion to enter into this memorandum of understanding?
I'll move. If they go forward with the, running project.
I'll second. We do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Very much so.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Right. Let's go ahead now and move to item number, no, I'm going to do item number 10. Y'all mind next. This is going to be discussing and take action on a mutual assistance group to use the fairgrounds in June. Tell us, come on up and tell us everything that you're talking about. I know we've read through this. It's a Walker Strong initiative that y'all are coming up with. So if you want to tell us a little bit about what this is, and we're all leaders.
So, right now, we're trying to raise money to get all of our sheriff's departments, Texas Fishing Game, police departments, all covered with bulletproof glass. Right now, we're aiming at the windshields. Eventually, we'd like to do at least windshield and side door, but right now, the minimum of a windshield. So to do that, we come up with a big benefit. This is going to be at the Limestone County Fairgrounds. It's supposed to be 3 days. We've got over 20 bands signed up. There's going to be a cook-off. There's going to be carnival tournaments. I mean, there's bounce houses. It's going to be a huge event. And but there's going to be several companies that are coming in that are licensed and bonded to sell alcohol. And that's, we debated a lot about it, but after, if you don't sell it and sell it responsibly, people are gonna bring it, and kind of want to get y'all's opinion on it, see what y'all thought about it.
Okay.
We already do that for the,
Yes.
I'm good with it. We have any safety precautions and to keep people from bringing it in if you're gonna sell it because you kind of,
Well, so as far as inside the facility, yes. Outside, not so much. Can't really control anyone bringing someone with a vendor vehicle, especially with the cook-off going on. Most of those cookers are gonna be out, halfway out in the woods. And, if they have a little cooler there, it's gonna be not really seen. You know what I mean? But there is out of your control. Right. There is gonna be, quite a large, presence of law enforcement, sheriff's department and, police department.
the only reason why I mentioned it is because there's other places that have done this, like Wortham. When they have the blues festival, people bring their own alcohol and they try to sell alcohol before, and nobody's gonna buy it.
Well,
Nobody's kind of policing or bringing it in,
But as far as, people bringing stuff in the facility, yeah, no, there's.
You're not gonna allow.
That's not allowed.
I guess at that
Right.
point.
That's absolutely, yeah. As far as out in the parking lot and stuff, that we can't control. But anyone bringing anything in, where the bands are gonna be, where the tournaments are gonna be, all this stuff is gonna be taking place inside except for the cook-off. So we will be able to control a good 90% of it.
I just want y'all to be able to get as much money as you can.
And I tell you something that's interesting, is the cost of what these are. I think I talked with, about the cost. It's about $3,500 for a windshield, right?
Well, so, and that number also goes down the more that you do. Yeah.
There's a company somewhere north, if I understand correctly, that's pretty much specializing in this right now.
Right now, they're the only ones with the technology so far. The old school technology and what a lot of us are used to is a big giant plate of glass, about 3 to 4 inches thick, and it's straight. You know, to have that installed in the vehicle, you have to go through the chassis, you have to upgrade the suspension, you have to upgrade the framework, you know, to be able to handle that. And a lot of times the engine, you know, so you can still maintain speed because it's so much extra weight. Now, with the same, or with this new tech, it's, the glass is about 1 inch, and it has a big film on the back of it that, so that it's rifle rated, the windshields up to, armor piercing, green tip 5.56, which is a hardened tip, and 7.62 by 39. So AK-47 rounds and 5.56 rounds, AR rounds, will not penetrate. The coolest thing is though, you can shoot back through the glass and hit your target after being shot at repeatedly. So the officer is 100% protected and can also return fire through it.
You know, unfortunately, it's almost like putting a stop sign up after someone's been killed at a intersection, you know, that these things could happen. But I know I was talking to John and it was real interesting about, and I was asking him, well, okay, what happens on this windshield when you trade that vehicle in? And so I'm sitting here thinking Shark Tank type things in my mind all the time. There might be companies that would go in there and actually have a auto parts dealership that will take these glasses out and store them and sell them back to maybe smaller people. But anyway, there's a lot of opportunities there. I thought it was very interesting to do this, and I think the main thing you're asking for, if we've already got this set up, I mean, it's going to happen. We just want to make sure that the county commissioner is okay with selling alcohol primarily. Is that what I'm saying?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Let's go ahead and see what y'all motion is on that.
I make a motion that they be able to, the mag group is to sell alcohol in the function.
I'll second that.
We do have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? That motion will pass. We wish you the best of luck. Well, I know we'll be out there.
Really appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, John. Let's go back to item number 8 now. And this is going to be accept for record a public right-of-way bond for the Hubbard Wind. In your package, y'all have this bond to look at. You know, the commissioner's thoughts on going and approving this bond.
I make a motion that we approve the warrant for right away.
Second. Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Just make sure I didn't skip anything. I think we're down to item number 12. Item number 12 is discuss and or take action on the purchase of courthouse security equipment. Okay, we had a meeting, this past, couple weeks, maybe a week ago. One of the things that I think that we are wanting to consider, is to buy a new Garrett walk-through metal detector. In addition, we need some, panels that we're gonna buy from Flats. All those items together are gonna be right at $1,000. I'd like to see us take that money. Natasha, let me ask you, because I'm gonna be asking you this again here in a second. How much money do we have that we've gotten unbudgeted, from the LCD so far this fiscal year? Do you have an idea on that?
I didn't bring that with me, but the last time I checked, we were around, it was around 80,000, but then we used 29 of it for the truck. So we're down to a little over 50, and I just sent in a wire, so we're collecting another 32. So we're back to that.
So if we wanted to use $1,000 of that money, you transferred that over, do you see any problem doing that?
The church, where are we getting 1,000?
Have that,
No, I'm talking about where you getting the figure of 1,000, the metal detector's 41.
I meant 10,000, almost there. No, I take it back, it's 5,000, what is it?
Yes, 1,000 for the barricade.
4,000 for the machine and 1,000 for the barricade. 5,000, I'm sorry. Thank you for, Bobby, for keeping me.
I move that we purchased that metal detector along with the little barriers are almost like office things that you put in offices in a big office. I move that we purchase those items.
We do have a motion. We do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item number 13 is discuss and take action on transfer of funds from the contingency to road and bridge road materials. We're getting a little head start on that this year. Last year, we almost waited too late to do it. One of the things that I've always kind of wanted to bring up is we could budget $10 million for roads. Do we have the manpower and the equipment and everything it takes, no matter what we say we want, to do the job? So my question to Jerry, is there anything out there right now that precludes us from going as fast as we currently have, not funds, but manpower and materials? Is there anything lacking? I know graders, or is there anything else that you can think of?
Our main thing right now is a shaker.
Shaker.
We have to screen the sand in order to put it through the plant. We've got a brand new plant that will handle up to 200 tons an hour, but we've got a screen that won't handle 50. It's broke down, it's 15, 20 years old. Every year we're sinking money into it. We need a shaker in order to get the material to our plant.
What kind of money are we talking about?
I'm just guessing 100,000, maybe less, maybe more. I haven't done any really checking on it. Matter of fact, Brian, they've got one that they can run 150, 175 ton an hour through it, and they have no trouble keeping it. Our problem is getting the material to the plant. Got sand, get it to the barn, it's the screen. It's got these big roots in it, and you can't run that through the plant and put it on the ground. You gotta get that root out.
Now, as part of that, from where we're getting our sand at, I know we were very limited on where we could get someone to sell us some sand. Is that part of the problem?
That is some of the problem, yes.
But you still got to screen sand wherever.
Wherever.
Where?
Yeah, it's got roots, you've not got trees to those. This area is like sickle pop. It's a root this big around and like this long, because there ain't no grass on top, but this is underneath.
All right, let me ask you a question. We budgeted for machinery. Each year we budgeted. Have you already obligated that money this year?
No, we still got, probably 200,000.
258,
158.
258.
258,000 still left in there.
Yeah.
What are you saying that you're gonna use that money for this year? We got 6 million.
I say we're trying to get this paper stream, that way we can get some material out.
Could we suggest to you that you bring back to us some pricing on that stuff?
We should.
Would we have to bid that?
Depending on where he gets it. If he gets it off the buy board, yeah. But I mean, I recommend we do both. Get bids on it, and then before we spend the money, depending on where the cheapest price was, if the buy board's cheapest, fine, but if, Acme, screening company has one for sale, for cheaper, we'll put it out for bid then.
Right. I've heard a few of the commissioners talking about, trading 2 blades in for one, trying to do a new blade.
In next year's budget?
Get the old ones out. In the same token, John Deere is the only one that would give us any price for our old ones. Caterpillar would. Wore out.
Well, we got one we're scavenging off of, and another one that's really old.
But anyway, I think the idea has always been, in this contingency, is to put that money over into some more road materials. So the only thing I just want to say is, let's make sure that we can spend it, can use it. So that being the case, today, I think you've got instruction on what to do, Jerry. But as far as what we're actually talking about today, y'all want to go ahead and transfer some of that funds out of contingency over to the road and bridge material fund.
Yes, I think we need to.
Okay.
How much we're talking about?
200.
200,000.
200,000.
That still leaves some in there, 40 or so.
LA 40.
And that way, last year we thought we wouldn't be able to get it all out, and we did.
Yeah.
And that was with the year where we were without sand for a while, we got behind, we had all kinds of issues.
I'm not gonna say we can't do that,
No.
but it's.
There's always stuff that
Every
happens.
year it gets harder and harder.
currently have 674,000 road materials still available.
Yep.
Did you make,
674,000.
somebody make a motion?
Somebody did.
Yeah, I did, I'll second the motion.
We do have a motion and a second to make this transfer. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Last item is the dreaded adjournment. Anybody want to make that motion? Motion second, all in favor, say aye. We're standing adjourned. Thank you very much.
I forgot the rest. I don't know what it is. We have,
First,
well, I'm